What's up, investors? It's the Russian dude. The war in Ukraine has proven to be a severe test of the Russian government's strategic and operational capabilities. As with the Kursk operation, the broader conflict has highlighted significant flaws in the government's approach to military planning and execution. The decision to invade Ukraine was made on a series of assumptions that quickly proved to be disastrously incorrect. One of the most glaring miscalculations was the expectation that the Ukrainian citizens would support the Russian invasion, that they really want to be liberated from those sitting in Kiev. This belief, seemingly held at the highest levels of the Russian leadership, was a fundamental misreading of the real situation. Rather than being greeted as liberators, Russian forces were met with fierce resistance from both the Ukrainian military and civilian population. This resistance, combined with the logistical challenges of sustaining a large-scale invasion, quickly eroded any initial advantages that the Russian military may have had. The invasion also exposed significant weaknesses in the Russian military's structure and readiness. Decades of corruption has ruined the armed forces, leaving them ill-prepared for the demands of a lengthy conflict. Equipment shortages, logistical failures, and a lack of effective command and control mechanisms, all this contributed to the rapid breakdown of the initial invasion plans. The Russian military, which had long been presented as an unstoppable force, was revealed to be deeply flawed and incapable of reacting quickly at rapidly changing situations and executing complex operations. What else would you expect if, instead of capable and smart military officers, you surround yourself with people-pleasers and yes-sayers? People who got promoted to the highest ranks not because of their military achievements, but because they kept bringing good news to Putin. And now, when it is practically impossible to continue bringing good news to Putin, it only makes sense that nobody can come up with a solution to existing problems. Such system can only survive for as long as everything goes according to the plan. But as we all know, plans do change, and they do it quite unexpectedly and without any warnings. These failures were compounded by the Russian government's inability to adapt to changing circumstances. The decision to launch a large-scale offensive in the spring of 2022, just as Ukraine's terrain was becoming increasingly difficult to navigate, was a critical error in the first place. The Russian forces found themselves bogged down in local skirmishes, unable to make significant progress, despite their numerical and technological advantages. By the end of 2022, when the situation has deteriorated to the point where the Russian military was forced to retreat from key positions, including the strategically important Kharkov and later Kherson regions. In the Russian propaganda, this was known as a gesture of goodwill. This retreat, while necessary to preserve what remained of the Russian forces, was a humiliating setback for the government, which had invested so much in the invasion so far. The strategic failures in Ukraine are indicative of a broader pattern within the Russian government. While it is capable of mobilizing significant resources and projecting power, it consistently falters when it comes to the execution phase. The invasion of Ukraine, like the Kursk operation, has highlighted the government's inability to effectively manage complex operations, leading to costly failures both in terms of human lives and political capital. The ongoing Kursk operation is not just a military endeavor, it is a symbol of Putin's leadership and the narrative he has crafted over the years. In the early stages of the Ukrainian conflict, capturing cities like Kiev, Mykolaiv, Kharkov and Kherson was seen as critical to Russia's strategic goals. However, as these operations faltered, Putin's focus shifted. Now, the battle is less about strategic victories and more about maintaining the image of a leader who will stop at nothing to achieve his goals. The capture of Ukrainian villages, many of which hold little practical value, serves as a primary symbolic purpose. It allows Putin to project an image of relentless determination, despite numerous setbacks and failures. His willingness to achieve small but symbolic victories, no matter the cost, has become a key element of his public persona. This unyielding attitude was once a source of fear and respect, both domestically and internationally. However, as the Kursk operation drags on, it is becoming increasingly clear that Putin's resolve may be more about saving his face rather than achieving any meaningful military objectives. The myth of Putin's invincibility is being challenged by harsh reality. The Ukrainian army's continued resistance and even offensive actions within Russian territory are eroding the narrative that Putin has carefully built. The idea that Putin would respond with overwhelming force to any incursion into Russian territory is proving to be just that, a narrative, blackmail, rather than an actual possibility. Putin's power has always been rooted in his ability to project strength, both at home and abroad. His control over the Russian state is near absolute, allowing him to push through policies and actions without little regard for public opinion or financial cost. However, the Kursk operation is exposing the limitations of this power. While Putin can command vast resources and mobilize forces, his ability to achieve decisive real victories and, most importantly, respond to actual threats is being questioned. The Ukrainian incursion into Russian territory has been particularly damaging to Putin's image. For years, Putin's legitimacy has been tied to his ability to protect Russian interests and territory. The idea that Ukrainian troops could not only cross into Russia, but also establish a foothold has undermined this legitimacy. The presence of Ukrainian forces on Russian soil with supply lines and reinforcements represents a direct challenge to Putin's authority. Despite the Kremlin's efforts to downplay the situation, the real facts are impossible to ignore. Russian convoys have been attacked, prisoners of war have been taken, and the Ukrainian forces are establishing a presence that will not be easily dislodged. This situation is a far cry from the overwhelming response that Putin has promised in the past. Instead of launching a decisive counterattack, Putin has been conspicuously absent, leaving the situation to be managed by regional officials and military commanders, and obviously shifting the blame and responsibility to these people. The symbolism of the Kursk operation extends beyond the battlefield. It has become a reflection of Putin's diminishing power and the destruction of his once powerful public image. As the operation drags on, it is becoming increasingly clear that Putin's power is not limitless. The Kursk operation has done more than expose the limitations of Putin's power. It has also dealt a significant blow to his public image both internally and externally. For a leader who has built his reputation on strength and invincibility, the inability to repel Ukrainian forces from Russian territory is a public humiliation. In the tough guy terms that Putin and his inner circle understand so well, this is a direct challenge to his authority that cannot go unanswered. In recent weeks, Putin has talked tough, speculating about the terms of Ukraine's eventual surrender and Russia's future control over contested regions. However, these statements now mean nothing in the face of Ukrainian advances into Russian territory. The world is watching, and so are key figures in Russia's political and military elite. For a leader who has always prided himself on his ability to control outcomes, this is a dangerous situation. Putin's failure to respond decisively to the Kursk operation has not gone unnoticed by Russia's international partners and especially rivals. Leaders like China's Xi Jinping are likely assessing the situation closely. Putin's inability to retaliate effectively against Ukrainian incursions could be seen as a sign of weakness, not just by his domestic audience, but also by the global community. For a regime that has long been based on the projection of strength, this is potentially a devastating development. Moreover, Putin's inner circle, the network of cronies and loyalists who have helped maintain his grip on power, may start to question his ability to lead. In the world of Russian politics, where power is often equated with the ability to project strength and suppress opposition, any sign of weakness can be dangerous. The Kursk operation has revealed a vulnerability in Putin's leadership, one that could have significant consequences if not addressed immediately. In the past, Putin has managed to maintain his authority through a combination of fear, control, and the careful cultivation of his public image. However, the Kursk operation has shown that this image is more fragile than it appears. The failure to protect Russian territory from Ukrainian forces has undermined the very narrative that Putin has spent years building. As a result, the Kursk operation may mark a turning point in Putin's leadership, one that could have far-reaching consequences for his future and the future of Russia. This whole situation underscores the broader challenges facing Putin's regime. The reliance on strength and the projection of power, which have served Putin well in the past, are proving insufficient in the face of the new realities. The inability to decisively respond to Ukrainian incursions has revealed a vulnerability that could have significant consequences for Putin's leadership. As we watch these developments unfold, it is clear that the situation in Kursk may become more than just a military conflict. It could be a turning point in Putin's political career. The erosion of his public image and the exposure of his leadership's limitations may have lasting effects, both within Russia and on the global stage. Guys, as always, thank you so much for watching. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel if this was interesting and informative for both. If you wish to support my work, you can become my Patreon, where you'll receive hundreds of uncensored footage. There are also PayPal donations, and you can always buy the Russian Dude merch. All the links are down below. Thanks so much for watching. See you tomorrow.
We won't succumb to their tricks, the facade they try to sell. Their twisted words and feeble claims on us all they cannot quell. We see through their lies, their feeble attempts to sway. We do not believe in ridiculous Russian propaganda.